Welcome back if you're joining us for our second video. Um, it's going to be a fairly short one. It's just something that we want to talk about now, which we feel is fairly relevant to what's happening in the world now, and also what happens in life as a more general rule, or as a more common thing that's happening all the time. So we've been following the outer world and the changes, and it's very engaging, it's very exciting, and you're just waiting for the next piece of the puzzle, the next evidence, the next disclosure, because you want to see that outer proof, because that outer can then give inner confirmation, bring like a release, bring a peace, bring a relaxation, bring an energetic shift, so to speak. And we've been caught in it too, because the outside's so exciting, it's so stimulating, and it's so easy to be drawn into it. But the truth in that is, and this is a truth that has existed since the beginning of everything, whenever that was, that the true peace, the true bliss, the true joy, the true confirmation, the true need of what we want in this life, in terms of this, having absolute peace and just bliss and connection and presence in every moment. It can't come from outside of us. It can't be given to us. It's not something that some disclosure is really going to change categorically. Yes, it might give an energetic boost, and it might be more supportive when it does, but it's not going to create an alchemical, a constant, an absolute trust, this constant way of being and being connected and being at peace. It's something we can only find and connect with and create in ourselves. I'll let Ashmi talk for a while.
Yeah, that's good. I think the disclosure is happening. It has been happening, but the media is not covering it. So a lot of the people who do know, wow, like these systems are being reset, even the financial reset's coming, we're going back to the gold standard, debts are being forgiven, like lots of good things are happening too. And we're so excited for that to finally be shown as evidence to the world. But it's only being seen in pockets. It's kind of a grassroots movement right now where people find communities and they're sharing what's going on. But the mainstream media obviously isn't covering it. So we're all waiting for the floodgates to open, and we know it's coming. But the message I got recently was, look at the root of why you're waiting for disclosure to happen. Why are you looking for outside confirmation for what you know or think you know deep down? And, a lot of us actually feel like the black sheep in our family and friend circles, well, depending on where you're at and where your communities are at. But, you feel like you know something, you're in an alternate reality, like you're seeing things that your friends and family might not be. So you want this outer confirmation so you can finally share it with them and point to them like, hey, look, it's actually happening, so that you don't seem crazy, because otherwise it can be very isolating. But look at the root of that. Like, why do you need outside confirmation to trust what you know deep down?
Yeah.
And do you actually trust it? Like, is there a little bit of doubt deep inside? Because in this journey, you realize everything you thought you knew is not as it seemed, and everything that you thought was fantasy or just too good to be true or too crazy to be true or just like a movie happens to be true. Yep. So everything's flipping upside down. The world becomes inverted, and it can be very confusing to the psyche who wants to hold on to the safety and the belief system of the past. So you want outer confirmation, but the message I got is disclosure is happening and will happen, at the right time, in perfect timing, and the amount of disclosure that's happening is exactly in proportion to humanity and yourself being ready to hold it.
Yep.
Because disclosure is going to bring a lot of shocks to the whole world. People are going to be shaken out of their whole world view, their whole life view, everything you thought you knew. You're going to have to reassess everything. And honestly, humanity wasn't ready for it. So the amount of disclosure is happening with little by little, to the point where you might doubt it's happening. But it has to be this way so that it will be the smoothest and most gentlest transition for the world. It's still going to be very rocky, but basically the outer is happening in direct proportion to the inner, your inner readiness to hold the calm, hold the space, hold the ability to integrate the emotions, because you're going to feel a lot of shock, anger. You're going to help your friends through that, your family through that. So, yeah, and we can't wait for something outside of us to give us permission to move forward with our inner knowing, to move forward with the future we want to create in our own lives. Like, there's no savior. And people are waiting for, this political figure, this leader, or this system, or this abundance program. They're waiting for the outer to give themselves permission to feel good and feel free, when no one can give you that freedom. You're the one who has to and gets to create it yourself.
Yep. Yeah. I think exactly what Ashmi is saying there, and with it not, with disclosure not happening now, with full disclosure anyway, and us not getting what we want, it's giving us what we need, and that's true for us anyway, and we believe it to be true for the rest of the collective, of how people who are awakened to this, we're wanting this, but what it's giving us is what we need, and what we need is to come to our peace, come to our balance within, and just come to the presence and the trust and the belief that we have inside, and the connection that we have inside. It's giving us that, because that's what we need most. And we don't need disclosure most. We need connection most. We need presence most. We need peace most. So we're getting exactly what we need in this now moment, and that's come to the peace within. So this is for the people who are aware of the outer that's going on. Come find this peace within. And I think by finding this peace within, we can share that with others and reflect it for themselves to find it in their own being, because it's a challenging journey. Like, it's not one that, okay, no worries, I'll just go and find peace within. It's one we have to connect with. It's one we have to cultivate. It's one we have to take full responsibility for. And whether there's disclosure or not, that's always going to be the case. So that's always going to be our responsibility. We have our sovereign being. We're part of the collective, but we have to go to our sovereign being to then share and connect that truth with the collective. And it's something that, I've got friends now that I'm talking with, and they're, I've left my job. I've been blessed that I'm in a position to do that to some extent, but also that I've had the courage to do that. That's the bigger one, just following that energy and following that truth and that clarity of that. So I've broken away from that system to now create my own life and take full responsibility for myself, and come back to the truth and the naturalness of my being. And that's the key. But for my friends, or some of them that I'm still talking with, which are aware of a lot of these outer things that are changing and are going on, but I don't know whether to fully believe it, and I don't
know what to think.
Yeah,
there's too much conflicting info.
But they're struggling in their job. They're really energetically conflicted, because once you know the outer, it's hard to work within these systems that are set up on negativity. They're negative-based systems, and they're set up on entrapment, in a sense. They enslave us to something that doesn't give us freedom to connect with and be with and share our strongest truth and our strongest joy and our strongest passion, and just be like natural to who we are. It's so rigid and structured and set to just zappers of energy and keep us outside of ourselves and not connecting within. So I understand or understand the challenge of that, because we've both lived that experience like very much fully and very up to recently, and we still are, because once you move out of that, even it's still a case of breaking these patterns, changing to our natural organic way of being. And it's not easy to move back from that when our whole life we've been pulled away from that.
Wow. And think of this whole, everything that's happening right now as an exercise to practice more trust, letting go of doubt, observing your doubt, and surrender. Because no matter, where you are on this journey and how aware you are, in some way or form, your life has been shaken up to the point where you need to surrender. Like, no one knows what the world's going to really look like 3 months from now, let alone a year. So we might think we have an idea, but we're being taught to surrender because we can't really control the outer, although we can influence our experience of it and our relation to it and the timeline we're on from the inner. Yeah. But the whole experience of the past 6 months especially has been a lesson in surrender. And what I'm getting now is humanity needed that lesson.
For sure.
We need to go through, think of it as a rite of passage. We need to go through this time of chaos and confusion and polarity and so many clashing belief systems, because this is what we need to get to the next level of our humanity and how we're going to shift into a new way of being, a new consciousness that is more surrendered to the present moment, more loving, more compassionate, more understanding, and more aware of our own power to create our life and not giving our power away to external circumstances. And it's not just about the awakening or disclosure, but we were just talking about how we often look to the outer to give us happiness or a sense of satisfaction or success or feeling good enough, like you need a relationship or job, or you need to be treated well by your parents, whatever it is. But we're starting to find out and learn as a collective, and this has been taught for centuries, but your own connection to that worthiness and your own connection to joy and peace is inside, and only you can give yourself that. And it's not attached to anything that happens outside of you.
Yeah, and I think for me, like my corporate job was something that really taught me that, is that I can't wait for my circumstance to change for me to be able to connect with my peace or to be on the journey to that. It's not, if I need something outside of myself, then my peace is always temporal or very subject to my circumstance. So if it's based on my circumstance, then it's going to be very unstable. It's not going to hold in the center in the balance for very long. So connecting with that within and finding that peace within, regardless of what our circumstance is, whether it's our job, our relationship, or whatever, by going in and finding peace within, those things on the outside, our relationship to them, our perspective with them, and how they're impacting us tends to change. I mean, that has to be experienced from an individual level. But from my experience, it changes. It really changes. Your experience can be, absolutely like hell, or it can be the opposite of that, like heaven. Because we create our experience. That's the beauty of being. That's the beauty of our human experience, is that we create it. And it's so much in our relationship or our perspective or our connection to the experience, more so to ourselves, that has the biggest impact on that.
And even in the community that's aware of what's happening right now, and waiting for disclosure, uh, I see so much of giving your power away to waiting for the outside. And the message that kept coming was, as you awaken within, the world awakens. As you ascend yourself within, the world ascends.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize, and I don't fully grasp this myself because it's so awe-inspiring and just so scary, the responsibility of it. But we are all one. And from another, even higher perspective, in this reality, you're the only one that exists. Everyone else is a mirror of you. And same for his reality. It's kind of mind-blowing for the human perspective, but to realize that everything outside of me is reflecting to me an aspect of myself, a shadow of myself, a part of myself I have not integrated, or another beautiful aspect of myself, another part of my soul. So the more I do the inner work, the more I let go into trust, the more I awaken myself and step into the higher dimensional way of being that I want to go into, which is more freedom, more trust, more presence, more joy. The outer world is reflecting that back to me. So it is a rite of passage into that, to realize how directly you actually affect your world. And it's not even about, I want the world to change. It's you actually change your world through your joy and through your connection to self and through all the healing work you're doing and through feeling the emotions and, every part of that, your whole life journey. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like what Ashmi's talking about there. It's a concept that's not spoken about really, and it's one that you have to experience it, and in experiencing it, you can believe it. Whether you want to believe it or not it's your choice. That's the beauty of it. But as you do change your inner world, your outer world changes, and it's most people will attest to they've had experiences like that when they're in a positive mindset, when everything's going well and life's just flowing for them. Then that's usually coming from a place where they're in a good space in themselves, and their outside world is reflecting that. But then the question is, then we have challenges, and we think these challenges are there. Oh, now it's all hard. Now life's impossible, and why is this happening to me? But it's happening, so that challenge is there for a very positive reason. But you have to see that, and whether you do it at the time or not, or whether it takes years or whatever, that it's the process that individually we go through. But all things are there for purpose, and everything has a positive positive movement to it when we can see it. But we have to see it, and from seeing it, then that creates more positive flow. And that's the thing, where everything's there in life to help awaken us, to help lift our consciousness, to help us awaken to the true capability of our being.
From the human perspective, that's really hard to hold, because it's like, well, someone died, or I have this terminal illness. Like, how could you say that's positive? But you have to remember, zoom out to the soul perspective. And from this perspective that you are infinite and you don't actually die, and that you have infinite lifetimes, infinite perspectives and aspects of yourself. And so everything is happening for your soul's expansion, for you to add to the collective consciousness. And sometimes we do sign up for, and this is a whole nother video, but for a really hard lifetime because you want to learn those lessons, or you want to have those experiences, or to even awaken and help those around you who love you. But the human won't fully understand the whole spectrum of that. You have to think of it from a higher perspective of, we are just energy and consciousness experiencing itself and wanting to experience all aspects of everything we can be and experience.
Yep.
That's the beauty of this polarity and this world where every kind of experience and every emotion imaginable, blah, blah. Emotion you say it. Emotion imaginable
yeah.
can be experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like, just, wherever you are at in your journey and whatever your perspective is on it, like, just be aware of how powerful your belief is. Be aware how powerful your imagination is. And the more that you cultivate the connection with your belief, the connection with your imagination, the connection with your trust and your inner knowing, when you connect with all these things, then it's going to have a very big impact on the world you live in and the experience you have. So just be aware of what you believe. Like, you don't need to believe us, but understand what your beliefs do to you. If your beliefs are that, no, the world's just like this and this is how it is, and we need these systems, just be aware of what that does to your experience and how that makes you feel in your being. Because if that doesn't make you really feel good and makes you feel trapped, then is that really the world you want to experience? Is that really what you want to be part of? So I think from our perspective, we see the limitations and the negative impacts of so many of the systems that are in the outer world today. And we believe that from our true wisdom as humans, that we can create something so much better. So we believe in that. And through believing that and then imagining something greater and connecting with that, then we can create that. And that's where we're at the world today. That's where we're at. We're at a place where it's time to imagine, connect with, believe in, and create something greater. And for sure we can do that. And,
I have to cough.
And we are doing that.
Sorry.
So that's happening, but our imagination is something we've been disconnected from. It's something that's so huge for us. It connects us with our spiritual, our metaphysical, our ethereal being. And by teaching us that the imagination is just something that we have as a kid and we create these things, but then when we become adults, it's all about figures and numbers and doing this and doing that and
being serious
and getting a house and paying it off and having a family, and then you're retired and dying. Like, if that's what we believe, then that's what we create. But our imagination is so important and so integral to our true being, and really connecting with that and allowing that to be, however it is, just allowing it to flourish and show you the magic that's in the world and the magic that's in your being. Like, it's so important to have that, Don't let that be taken from you, because it's yours. It's yours. It's you're born with it. That's why children have it so naturally, but it's taken away from us. It's ironed out, but we need it. And it's our holistic human.
And on top of imagining it and believing it and feeling into what you want from a place of wholeness, not lack. So not wanting something because you lack it. Because often, an easy example is you want more money because you are focused on the lack of it. And that only creates the experience of lack, right? So you have to feel it and believe it from a place of already feeling full. And how do you do that when you don't feel full? Well, maybe start with gratitude for the little things, trust that peace, connect with that peace when you're in nature or breathing deeply, take some time for yourself and tune into that feeling of wholeness and completion and peace and arrival, as if you don't need anything else outside of you. And, a few minutes of deep breathing and just getting into your heart can connect you to that expansive state, even in the depths of depression, which we'll talk about that in another video, his experience with that. But on top of that, there's another side to it where you have to feel worthy and good enough to receive. Otherwise, there will be self-sabotage, or you will push away the exact thing that you want or that's coming towards you out of fear or thinking that you don't deserve it. So yeah, that's self-love is huge, and we can talk about that in another video. It's a huge topic, but
Yep.
yeah, there's many aspects to it, which is why some people don't really understand, or they think manifestation is just about the secret and, oh yeah, like I imagine a Ferrari and I get a Ferrari. No. That's why I feel like the world hasn't been fully shown the power of our ability to create and how directly we create, just because it's been kind of commercialized under just, oh, here's 5 tips to manifest under the secret.
How to get rich quick.
But it is actually real and true. The law of attraction actually works in the universe, and we've seen it in our lives. But there's many more layers to it. And once you know it and grasp it, it's very simple to apply, but there are many layers that are not talked about. So that will be another video.
Yep.
But I feel like we covered, most
Yep.
of the meat of what we wanted. And
Yep. The magic is within you. Connect with it, believe it, feel it, and feel our love for you. And we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. We love you.
We love you. Bye.